Welcome to the Fox 54 Weekend Review. I'm Kenesha Dees. It's the only place in North Alabama to get the week's local headlines condensed into one program. Here's a taste of what's ahead. Starting off, if you travel in Madison, get ready to slow down as a new roundabout goes in. We'll tell you where you need to watch for traffic. And more changes coming to the city of Decatur as plans continue to develop a huge mixed-use project along the Tennessee River. Thousands of Madison drivers may have to change the way they get to work or school starting Monday. Alerts have been posted about upcoming construction and the closure of the Huntsville-Browns Ferry and Burr Green Road intersection. But what's all this for? A new roundabout will be taking shape there, and it means a full closure of the crossroads. Our Gabe Glassman spoke to locals about whether they think it's a good idea and what it'll take to get those improvements in place.
It's stop and go at the Huntsville-Browns Ferry and Burr Green Road intersection in Madison.
This traffic is unreal. Of a morning, say from 7:15 to 8:15, if we get out of our driveway, somebody has to let us out. There's wrecks on that corner at least twice a week.
Many who live and work near the intersection say congestion is at its worst when the school bell rings in the mornings and afternoons. James Clemens High School is just down the road, and these crossroads are used by many to get kids to and from school each day.
They're coming to pick children up, and they're coming to take them back home, and that's why it gets busy.
But relief could be on the way. A new roundabout will replace the old four-way stop. Work begins next week. Oakland Self-Storage is located right off of Huntsville-Browns Ferry, and a manager there says she's looking forward to the change.
It's going to actually increase the flow of traffic. There'll be more people coming this way because they know there's a roundabout there. I'm not real concerned with the congestion as much as I am when they put the roundabout in. Is that going to stop traffic coming by my business?
But a local resident whose house is closest to the intersection believes it will take time for the roundabout to be effective.
I think it'll help once the people understands how to use a roundabout.
Joan Barkley suggests a stoplight could have worked better than a roundabout.
I think they could have worked it a better way, but that's just my thinking.
The intersection of Huntsville, Browns Ferry, and Burr Green will close on Monday, April 21st. Officials expected to reopen by August. From Madison, Gabe Glassman, Fox 54 News.
City officials are encouraging drivers coming from the west to use Holiday Drive to access Highway 72. For those headed south, you can use a detour to Hardeman Road, to Burr Green, then Powell and Bowers Road. Travelers are asked to plan alternate routes ahead of the closure, if possible. The long-anticipated Ingalls Harbor development in Decatur is still on pause, but not for much longer, city leaders say. The $30 million project took another step forward last week as the city council approved a 3-year extension on its agreement with the developer. Back in March of 2023, developer Patrick Lawler unveiled plans for a major riverfront project, a 75,000 square foot mixed-use development with condos, restaurants, shops, and entertainment. It's all set to rise just west of Ingalls Harbor along the Tennessee River. Our Ken McCoy is following up on where things stand and when we might see progress along the waterfront.
Right now, Ingalls Harbor is just a quiet riverfront. But if all goes to plan, the city says it'll be home to so much more. All it's waiting for is just that final green light. It's been nearly 2 years since developer Patrick Lawler unveiled plans for a sweeping 75,000 square foot mixed-use project here on the Tennessee River.
I feel like there's a huge opportunity in Decatur, and they just really don't have a lot. There's a lot of industry on the water, but there's not a lot of social activity.
Due to a slight hiccup, the city council voted last week to extend the city's agreement with Lawler's team for another 3 years. Once completed, the project will include restaurants, retail shops, and space for live entertainment. It will also include condos, which is where the situation gets tricky.
So they have a deed restriction on residential, anything below the 560 elevation.
The TVA deed restrictions date back to 1954. Lawler's wants to build and sell around 40 condos, but there's a catch. The deed puts a limit on how close any residential buildings can be to the river, which is causing some complications.
But as we know, that used to be Ingalls Shipyard. And I'm sure where the boat docks are now, where the bass boats do the tournaments and take off, I'm sure that used to be where they pulled ships in to work on. So I'm sure when they dug all that out way back when, they probably used that field and changed the elevations.
Lawler, who developed the successful City Harbor in Guntersville, is receiving $5 million in incentives and a combined 7 acres from the city and Decatur Utilities for the project. He says he sees a successful outcome in getting approval.
I'm confident we'll get there. And when we do get that approval, we will get that approval. I'm very confident on that. But when we get there, it'll probably take about 6 months. So once we get that approval, I hope to break ground within 6 months.
Lawler says he's dealt with a similar situation before when City Harbor in Guntersville was being constructed. In Decatur, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
Lawler also points out that projects like this can give the local economy a real boost by creating more jobs and attracting tourists to the area. Next, we've got some good news for you. After looking for sponsors and volunteers, the Special Olympics of Madison County went off without a hitch on a beautiful day. And the children really are our future. Take a look at some Huntsville fourth graders, how they are making a difference in their district. It was almost game over for the Special Olympics of Madison County this year, with organizers facing serious challenges just weeks before the event. Just a week ago, the event was short hundreds of volunteers and lack of sponsorship support. But thanks to a last-minute push, the event was able to continue. And our Ken McCoy has more on how the community came together to make it all happen.
Just a few short days ago, there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding today's events due to low budgeting and a short volunteer pool. The combination of both made organizers feel the worst. But today, everything went on without a hitch. That right there, that's the sound of a community coming together. The Special Olympics of Madison County brought its usual joy, energy, and inclusiveness back to Milton Frank Stadium with more than 750 athletes out there giving it their all. And while the event had some serious challenges leading up to it, the community stepped up big time.
I saw the article at the Alabama one, and my mom and my grandma was also here volunteering, so we all did as a family.
Caitlin had never volunteered before, but now she's hooked.
We have so many friends that participate in this every year, so we wanted to join and help them out. This is an amazing event. I'm gonna come back and volunteer more.
And with people like Caitlin pitching in, athletes like Jeremiah get moments they'll never forget.
My name is Jeremiah, and I'm at the Special Olympics, and I won first place. I love it, and I just prayed to God, and it happened, and I won.
It's important because these are members of our community, right? We're all from a religious standpoint, we're all children of God, right? And we're all just out here trying to help each other out and do better every day.
From almost being called off to becoming a day full of smiles, cheers, and first place finishes is proof that when community shows up, amazing things can happen. In Huntsville, Kim McCoy, Fox 54 News.
Amazing things can happen. Glad this happened. The Special Olympics of Madison County is the largest Special Olympics event in the state of Alabama, with more than 700 participants yearly.
Recycling is actually cheaper than trash collection. This is because maintaining a landfill can be very costly. Mind-blowing, right?
Some lessons don't come from a textbook, and at Hampton Cove Elementary, one group of fourth graders is proving just that. They're launching a bold district-wide recycling plan that's already turning heads, including that of a Huntsville councilman. Our Ken McCoy has more on how this plan came together.
Well, we were noticing that a lot of people don't recycle too much.
They're only in fourth grade, but the students at Hampton Cove Elementary have their sights set on something much bigger than a classroom.
Everyone was doing service projects. We decided to choose this one, and we never even thought it would really just lift off the ground like this, but stuff happens.
An assignment on service turned into a call for action. With some creativity and a whole lot of teamwork, they developed a full recycling plan, including cost breakdowns and statistical data that proves paper is the biggest culprit in most schools.
Schools go through a lot of paper, so if we recycled the paper, then it would make a huge impact because most of the paper comes from schools.
And if you're wondering about the cost, these students say the district doesn't need to worry.
We didn't really want them to think that it was too expensive that they couldn't pay for it.
So the approximate cost was $98,000 annually, but the Huntsville City Schools budget is $406 million. So I thought it makes such a big impact, but it's a little dent in the money.
And they didn't do it alone. With the help of their instructor, they digged into the numbers and figured out how to present their idea.
I asked all of my students to find an authentic problem that they can solve, and this one by far this year was one of the toughest ones. This project is heavy in research, whereas a lot of my other projects, there's an art or a creativity aspect to it. So this one was a tough one, and it required a lot of collaboration with community partners. So I was pleasantly surprised when they told me what they planned to do.
And like most students after a big project, it's a good feeling to have the hard part over with.
I just felt like relief all over. Like, it was so nerve-wracking while we were talking, at least for me. I was like, okay, finally this is over. I can go back home, have sweet dreams, finally.
The students hope that if this idea catches on, other schools will consider joining the cause. In Hampton Cove, Ken McCoy, Fox 54 News.
At last Thursday's city council meeting, Councilman David Little said he would do what he could to help get the idea going.
Our top stories this week include a high-speed chase that crossed counties and hit speeds of 160 miles per hour. We'll learn how law enforcement sets policies for these chases. And the search for a Decatur police chief came down to one candidate. So what's next for the city? We start with a high-speed chase that left Priceville police behind after they called off the pursuit near Greenbrier Road over the weekend. They put out a BOLO, or a be on the lookout alert, in Limestone and Madison counties for the involved vehicles. It started in Priceville after a report of street racing and got to Madison with a top speed of 160 miles per hour before the pursuit was called off. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo takes us to I-65 to show us where it all went down.
He's taking exit 3. I'm not pursuing. I'm going speed limit. He's continuing onto the Greenbrier Parkway. Limestone Minnesota, Priceville PD. You guys, he went south on Swancott there at exit 3. 320. Just log on those cabinets. The max speed that we got to was 160.
What you just heard was scanner traffic from early Sunday morning. Cars driving at speeds up to 160 miles an hour and officers in pursuit. They came up from Priceville on Interstate 65 right along this stretch before heading up toward Huntsville along 565. Priceville's chief of police tells me they called off the chase, but they're still searching for those vehicles.
Once you reach the county line, we'll terminate a pursuit unless we are chasing someone for committing a dangerous crime, and all we had at that point was reckless driving, so that's not worth pursuing, possibly endangering the public or ourselves.
Every police department sets its own policy on when to call off a pursuit. Priceville police say they made that decision on Sunday, concerned that the rate of speed and the change in jurisdictions could put the public in danger.
We never want to endanger the public. Unfortunately, we're in crime fighting business, and people are not just always going to pull over and cooperate. But we have to take the totality of the circumstances into play when we decide to pursue. And if we don't have much of a crime, then it's not worth the risk to continue that pursuit.
And Chief Holmes says in situations like these, they watch out for those drivers from afar.
We'll BOLO for them. We'll be aware of their, possible travels. We've gotten some complaints on them, coming up and down 65, so we'll keep an eye out for them.
In the meantime, police are asking the public to contact Morgan County law enforcement if they have any leads. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, or ALEA, declined to comment on the search. In Priceville, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
Police are still searching for the lead vehicle, a red Ford Mustang with a black tag cover and a black spoiler. Other cars involved in the racing incident include more Ford Mustangs, Dodge Chargers, and Chevy Camaros.
Decatur's top officials sat in a special called work session today with a special guest, Police Chief candidate Tory Mack. He is currently listed as the sole remaining candidate for the position. Fox 54's Gabe Glassman is in Decatur and was in the room for the interview. Gabe, can you talk more about what Mack discussed during the meeting?
Yes, Emily, the sole candidate for Decatur's permanent police chief position, Tory Mack, sat through 2 hours of questioning. It just wrapped up about 30 minutes ago. And during those 2 hours, Mack talked a lot about his 30-plus years of experience that he has in the
works out of Birmingham, and he currently works with Birmingham, overseeing more than 80 people in his department. Mack also talked about his leadership abilities, which includes his loyalty to the place he works and accountability being held for himself and his department. When Mack was asked about why he was interested in the position, he says, quote, "I can bridge the gap between the police department to the community," end quote. If he is selected to lead the DPD moving forward, Max says he'll be out in the community working in it. Now, a little bit of news for you. I talked to Decatur Mayor Tab Bowling after the meeting, and I can confirm the Decatur police chief position is back open for candidates. When I asked him why, he said, because he is the sole candidate for comparison purposes. That doesn't mean that he's not going to be selected, but now it gives the opportunity for more people to apply for the position. City Council President Jacob Ladner tells me they're going to discuss more about today's interview at the next City Council meeting on Monday. But for now, live from Decatur, Gabe Glassman, FOX54 News.
The Decatur City Council will meet again for a work session on Monday morning at 9:30 and a regular session to follow at 10 a.m.
ULA let us in on a behind-the-scenes tour of one of the biggest rocket factories in the world to see how the Atlas and Vulcan rockets are made. One of the biggest rocket-making plants in the world is right here in the Tennessee Valley, and it keeps getting bigger. United Launch Alliance is a major player in the industry and a major employer in Decatur. But even as the facility undergoes an automation overhaul, its CEO tells FOX54 the jobs are here to stay.
United Launch Alliance's Atlas rockets are on this side, their Vulcan rockets are on this side. And while these take a long time to get made, a lot of the process now is automated. The process of getting an Atlas or Vulcan rocket into space has changed dramatically in recent years. These days, like so many others, ULA is using AI to help make it happen.
It's a pressure vessel holding the most energetic, flammable rocket fuels that are in practical use today. So you can't have any leaks at all. So 18,000 welds, we have at least 2, often 3 people that will look at every weld to make sure they're good. That's a lot of welds. And so with AI, we can screen the welds ahead of time and help the people be more effective.
ULA CEO Tori Bruno says about 80% of the production process is now automated, and they've spent around $500 million on those upgrades.
You don't develop a new heavy-class space launch vehicle, but every decade or 2. And when you do that is your opportunity to refresh the technology, not just on the rocket, but also in the factory.
But while the process is mostly computerized, Bruno says that doesn't necessarily mean a change in the workforce.
All that equipment we just showed you takes a lot of people to operate them properly and to keep them tuned and running correctly. So it really just changes the skills a little bit.
Now, these rockets are built in-house before they get transported to the launch pads in either Florida or California. But from Decatur, Gabe Glassman, FOX54 News.
ULA has launched more than 150 missions in the last 2 decades. A lot of big changes and advancement at ULA. Well, count on FOX54 Plus to bring you more great programming with in-depth local specials, locked-on sports, true crime, cooking shows, wellness experts, and continuing weather coverage. For everyone at FOX54 News, I'm Kenesha Dees. Have a good and safe Easter weekend.